about to read it over again. Yeah. So it says Genesis chapter 21. He saw well into the distance. Three flocks of sheep and goats and laid in the open field beside it, waiting to be watered. But a heavy stone covered the mouth of the well. It was the custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone and watering the animals. Afterward, the stone would be placed back over the mouth of the well, and Jacob went over to the place and asked, "Where are you from, my friend?" "We are from Haran," they said, raising loud. "Of the animals, why don't you water the sheep and goats so they can get back out to pasture?" "We can't water the animals until all the flocks have arrived," they replied. When the shepherd removed the stone from the mouth of the well, that he was her cousin on her father's side, the son of her aunt Rebecca, so they just ran to her father. I already read this part. As soon as Laban heard that his nephew Jacob had arrived, he ran out, and he embraced and kissed him, and brought. After Jacob had stayed with Laban for about a month, Laban said to him, "You shouldn't work for me without pay just because we are related. Tell me how much for your wages should be." Now Laban had two daughters. The older daughter was Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. And there was no sparkle in Leah's eyes. But Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face, which doesn't really matter if you have a lovely face or nothing. Leah was not very attractive, but you see how he treated her because she was attractive. But Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face, and Jacob was my daughter as my wife. A greedy young man replied, "I'd rather take her to you than to anyone else." Staying work was for me. So Jacob worked 7 years to pay for it. And you see how men act in the Bible? When you really love the woman, they would go all out for her. They wasn't standing the woman up. They wasn't um playing woman. They treated like they treated a woman like how God intended for a man to treat a woman. But we know that like a lot of things we know, and we don't know nothing because they're like lost without Christ. Finally, it's time came for him to marry her. "I have fulfilled my agreement," Jacob said to Laban. "Now give me my wife. I can sleep with her." So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood and prepared the wedding feast. But that night, when it was bright, Laban took Leah to Jacob, and he slept with her. Laban had given Leah a feather Zipporah to be her maid. So when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. "What have you done to me?" Jacob married off the younger daughter ahead of the first one. "Why did you just say that in the first place?" Laban replied, "But wait until the bridal week is over, then we'll give you Rachel to cook." A week after Jacob had married Leah, Laban gave Rachel a servant Bala to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel. So Jacob agreed to work 70 hours a day. So Jacob had many children after the rest. And when the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to have children. So God blessed her with children because she was like looked upon down on because she wasn't very attractive. And God seen on everything. And he took care of her. Like he took care of me. Even though I'm not saying this, God is so good. He can be especially something in the world. With all the sleep. So Rachel was jealous. So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and she named him Reuben, for she said, wait, let me read this something goes into God's conversation for us. Patience is the hardest when we need it the most, but is the key to achieving our goals. So she has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me. She soon became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She named him Simon, for she said, the Lord heard the birth to another son. He was named Levi, for she said, surely this time my husband will feel affection for me. So Genesis chapter 3, and she doesn't have any children with Jacob, she became jealous of her sister. She pleaded with Jacob, give me children or I'll die. Then Jacob became furious with Rachel. Am I God? He asked. He is the one who has kept you from having children. Then Rachel told him, take my maid Bilhah and sleep with her. Rachel became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son who was hard with my young woman, pregnant with him, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Soon Jacob pregnant him with a son, then let him die. So she said, powerful from the hand. Then Jacob gave Jacob a second son, and then named him Asher. So she said, what boy is mine? Now the other woman will celebrate with me. One day during the wheat harvest, Reuben found some mandrakes growing in the field and brought them to his mother. Leah and Rachel begged Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But Leah angrily replied, wasn't it enough that you told my husband? Now you will steal my son's mandrakes too. Rachel and Leah went out to meet him. You must come and sit with me tonight, she said. I plead for you with some mandrakes that my son died. So that night he slept with Leah, and God answered Leah, said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband as I was. And then Leah became pregnant again, and Jacob had 6 sons for Jacob. She named him again, for she said, God has given me a good reward. Now my husband will treat me with respect, for I have given him 6 sons. Later she gave birth to a daughter and named her Bilhah. Hold on, if the pen goes up. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. God has redeemed my mistakes, she said. She said, may the Lord add yet another family that is sons to my family. So Jacob lost some creatures. So Jacob said to Laban, please release me so I can go home to my own country. Let me take my wives and children, for I have earned them by serving you. And let me be on my way. You certainly know how hard I have worked for you. Please listen to me, Laban replied. I have become wealthy for the Lord. Whatever it is, I'll pay it. Jacob replied, you know how hard I worked for you and how the flocks and herds have come under my care. You had little indeed before I came, but your wealth has increased enormously. The Lord has blessed you through everything I've done. But now it's about me. When can I start providing for my own family? What wages do you want, Laban? Jacob was called a black sheep. Give these to me as my wages. In the future, when you check on the animals, you have given me as my wages. You'll see that I have been honest. If you saw any of my flock when you go to prospect of the flock or any you say, but that very day Laban went out and moved the numbers out the street. Then you placed these peeled branches in the wooden straw where the flock came to drink, for that was where it was needed. And when they made it, they gave that to that young that was street speckled and fathers. Jacob separated the ground from Laban's flock. And at maintenance time, he turned the flock to feed Laban's animals that were streak or black, and this is how he built his own flock instead of piecing Laban. Whenever the stronger females were ready to mate, Jacob would place the peeled branches in the wooden trough in front of them, and then they would mate up the branches, but he didn't do this. With the weaker lines of senior wealthy and large flocks of sheep and goats, camels, and their servants, and little cows and donkeys. Now we have to read the little article of my Bible. So Leah was married to Jacob after Genesis chapter 31. Jacob sees some living. But Jacob did not know Laban. And Jacob began to notice a change in Leah's attitude toward him. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your father and grandfather, until you lay this there, and I will be with you. And giving them to God. Sometimes during the meeting season, I had a dream and saw that meeting with the female that only shoots stuff out of spotty milk and hidden with the female of the truck. But I see how I'm about to appear to you at that point. The place where you another quarter of sun and move it out to me. Now, get ready and leave the country and return to the land of your birth. Okay, now this starts the bond home. Rachel and Leah responding, that's fine with us. We won't hear any of us on this left anyway. Give our rights to those upon. So Jacob put his wives and children on camels, and he drove all his livestock in front of him. He packed all the garments he had a party in Hebron and set out for the land of Canaan where his father Isaac lived. At that time, they left Laban, who was some distance away shearing the sheep. Rachel stole his father's household idols and took them with her. Jacob outwitted Laban, the army, but they set out secretly and never told Laban they were leaving. So Jacob took all his possessions with him and crossed the Euphrates River, heading for the hill country of Gilead. Laban pursued Jacob. When 3 days later Laban was told that Jacob had been caught up with Jacob as he had camped in the hill country of Gilead and set up his camp not far from Jacob. What do you mean by defeating me like this? Laban demanded. How dare you take my daughter away, a prisoner of war? Why did you speak away secretly? Why did you deceive me? And why didn't you say you wanted to leave? I would have given you a 3 word piece with singing and music accompanied by a tambourine and harp. Why didn't you let me take my daughters and grandchildren and tell them goodbye? You have acted very foolishly. I could assure you, but the God of your father appeared to me last night and warned me. Leave Jacob alone. I can understand your feeling that you must go in your intense longing to your father's home. But why have you stolen my daughter? I rushed away because I was afraid, Jacob answered. I thought you would take your daughter from me by force. But as for your God, see if you could find me, and let the person who has taken them die. And if you find anything else that belongs to you, identify it before all these relationships of ours, and I will give it back. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the house idols. Laban went first into Jacob's tent to fetch there, and then entered Leah's for idols and hidden them in his humble saddle, and now she was sitting on them. And when Laban had heard
the article disconnected. If I want to spend time just relaxing, there is nothing wrong with taking time off and relaxing. God took a break himself after creating the world. See Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. But if there's a job to be done, Jacob worked for years with little reward. See Genesis chapter 31, verse 38, verse 42. But he knew God was pleased, and that's what matters. Genesis chapter 31, verse 38, verse 42. Jacob had the habit of doing more than was expected of him, and when his flocks were attacked, he took his losses rather than splitting them with Laban. He worked hard even after several pay cuts. His diligence eventually paid again to multiply diligence. Number 1 pleases God. Number 2 earns recognition and advancement. And number 3 enhances your reputation. 4 builds others' confidence in you. And 5 gives you more experience and knowledge. And 6 31 I read. Yeah, chapter I forgot. No, chapter 30 and 31 I read. Genesis chapter. In the last 17 years of his life in Egypt, arriving in Padan Aram, he was guided to the berry field, where some shepherds from Haran were tending their flocks. So perfect was God's timing, and Rachel was just arriving with her flock when Jacob was talking with the shepherds. For 7 years of service, the years seemed to Jacob but a few days because of the love he had for her. That is how it should be in our service for the Lord. Leah was weak-eyed and not attractive. Rachel was beautiful. In according to the custom, it was arranged that the bride should go into the groom on the wedding night, veiled perhaps when the room was in darkness. You can imagine how irate Jacob in the morning when he found that his bride was Leah. Laban had tricked him, but excused the trick on the ground that the older daughter should be married first, according to the local custom. Then Laban said, fulfill her week. That is carried through on the marriage to Leah, and we will give you this one also, Rachel, for the service which you were served. Then serve 7 more years for her. Jacob had sown the seed, and now he was reaping it. When the Lord saw that Leah is born to Leah were Reuben, Rachel, Dan, Naphtali, the sons born to Zibiah, handmaid of Leah, God, a troop of good fortune, Asher happy, and the sons born to Rachel, Joseph, Adan, and Benjamin, the son of the right hand. In desperation, in Genesis chapter 30, verse 113, in desperation to have a child playing on her knees, Rachel gave her maid Bilhah to Jacob as a wife or concubine, even though such arrangements were common in those days. They were contrary to God's will. Bilhah bore 2 sons, Dan and Naphtali. Not to be outdone by Rachel, Leah gave her maid Zibiah to Jacob, and 2 more sons were born, Gad and Asher. Genesis chapter 30, verse 14, verse 24. The mandrakes which Reuben found were a sort of love apple believed by the superstitious to impart fertility. Since Rachel was barren, she was anxious to have some of the mandrakes. In exchange, she agreed if Laban would give him all the speckled and spotted sheep and goats and all the saying, oh, that it were according to your word. Laban took most of the animals. This designated for Jacob and gave them to his sons to shepherd, realizing that they would probably be reproduced with markings that identified them as belonging to Jacob. Then he entrusted his own benefit. New genetic evidence suggests that there might have been. How else might the animals have been breeding? By careful breeding, he not only produced animals with the markings he desired, but he was also able to produce stronger animals for himself and feeble ones of live for later serving Laban. And Jacob's return to Canaan in chapter Genesis 31, verse 1. Verse Thomas points out several interesting principles for discerning God's guidance here. First, Jacob had a desire. Secondly, circumstances necessitated farming support from his wives despite their natural ties to Laban. 31, 45. To the first complaint, Jacob answered that he left secretly for fear that Laban taken his daughters, Rachel and Leah, from his passage reveals that Jacob's was a hard worker and that the blessing of the Lord was upon him in all that he did. Are we faithful to our employers? And does the blessing of God rest upon our work? Just fingers keep disconnecting.